We do introductions at the start. I can't remember if we actually introduced ourselves. Are we going to do that?
Even if this was the introduction, just me trying to think of how to describe the introduction, is basically explaining who I am, who is Robert, and who you are, who is Dave, and we're really quite fond of sci-fi and giant robots, and we're just going to discuss it right now. Other than that, we're too autistic to actually do an introduction. Here we go at the start. The basic way I discovered this series was, at the time I was getting into Gundam. So this was around the era of when Toonami first started up. So this was like 2003. And unfortunately, because we only had, well, in the UK you only got the Toonami version that we got, not the one the Americans got, that was apparently a lot superior. The Gundam we first got was Gundam Wing, and Gundam Wing sucks massively. I never got into Gundam at the time, and it was much later I came back, and I watched this Gundam and 8th MS Team around the same time, because I was told they were really short, great introductory series that explain like the basic points of Gundam.
I'd never really watched any Gundam before. This is like the first Gundam series I've sat down and watched, because it's always seemed like a very intimidating series to get into because there's so fucking much of it. So for you naming this as the first series that we're going to watch, that seemed kind of interesting, because you were like, yeah, this is a good introductory one to watch because it sets up a lot of stuff, but it also lets you know about the stuff that's come before in this particular timeline, because apparently there's multiple timelines in this entire series just to make it confusing for you.
There's not only multiple timelines, there's also alternative universes.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So, for example, with A3 Stardust Memories, the whole idea of it basically being this mecha equivalent of Top Gun was why I got into it. And I got into it as soon as the soundtrack hit. The first episode, of course, being them testing out the new GM model, and it's them flying about, and there's basically a rip-off of Highway to Danger Zone playing.
I am convinced you could replace that entire scene and just overdub it with Highway to the Danger Zone, and it will just be pitch perfect. Someone needs to do that. We need to do that.
So first episode is Top Gun for a little while.
Yeah, it's Mecha Top Gun. We start off with Mecha Top Gun.
Yeah.
Fucking Ku is Maverick. His best mate, whatever the fuck his name is.
Keith.
That's Goose. Keith. I actually like Keith. He's a pretty cool character. Then you've got fucking Gato, I guess. He's like Iceman.
And the other thing is, like, Gato, I always felt he's trying to design to look like Val Kilmer, except he has long hair.
He so is! He looks like Val Kilmer.
But yeah, so like, it starts with them learning to fly and showing how they're test pilots and they're rookies. And the other thing is, the Federation is arriving at this training base to pick up something. And you're seeing the effects from the 1 Year War, which is that Australia is now a giant puddle. And they're arriving to pick up these new mobile suits with new weapons. But the other thing with that is, that new weapon isn't a new weapon, it's actually nuclear weapons, which are banned in Gundam. With that, it sets up that the Federation is willing to bend these rules now. It is no longer basically fighting for democracy and freedom. It has become this corrupt organisation that has been warped from its war.
You get the impression that these people probably were nice once upon a time, but now they're dabbling with weapons that they know are illegal, and they're clearly aware of the fact.
We are introduced to the Zeon characters. In the first scene of the thing, where it shows the final battle, the whole introduction is showing that the Zeon have fought with honour at the end of the war, and that they're preserving themselves for one last strike, but that has to come later. They must suffer the dishonour of defeat for the time being. When we introduce them in Australia before they attack the space, and it's not to enact revenge, but it's instead to show the corruption of the Earth sphere.
Yeah, they are clearly quite passionate and driven people, and they clearly desperately believe in their ideals. It's just that they believe in them so much, they are willing to do really, really bad shit in the name of it. Whereas you've got Earth Federation, who ostensibly are the good guys, but they're just corrupt as fuck.
So the whole series is kind of building up to these big space battles. So it starts off with small skirmishes explaining how the Zeons steal this weapon and then get it to space, and then from space to get it to the Solomon, which is where the big battle at the end of Gundam happens, and showing that the war still isn't over. They steal these banned weapons to prove that the Federation is bad, and then they use that weapon on the Federation's big giant military North Korean style parade, or naval review.
Oh my god, that scene is so good though.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
So after all this crap where it leads up to this, they're like fighting like these guerrilla forces of Zeon flying about this blown up battlefield, and they're like fighting between this giant space version of Scapa Flow, and there's all these dead ships everywhere, and they're jumping between them, and there's some really cool mecha action because there's all these people doing like delaying actions to stop the Federation stopping this attack, and then Gato and the Delasfi fly into the middle of the, I think it's Solomon base, if I remember correctly, and the Naval Review, which is the big Federation showing off its might against the Space Knights and how the Space Knights are under their boot, but because they've managed to steal a nuke, they just fly up and nuke it, and it's just like, lol, get wrecked. 50-point kill streak.
Space Knights to get out. Oh, shit.
It's one of the things I think this series does well, is it's, you know, everything's a grey area, lol, neutral, fucking get off my property.
Hippity, fucking hoppity.
I don't know, it just shows it well, because the Zeon are clearly fighting to prove how corrupt the Federation is by nuking people.
Right, because that was a slightly strange one. I sort of understand stealing the nuke and using it on the fleet that's been willing to use nukes, because, you know, you fucking made them, you shits. Although the thing at the end with the fucking colonies, that was a bit too far for me at that point. I think I sort of lost my, like, initially...
Nah, fam. Mass genocide's fine.
Yeah, it's cool. We'll just kill hundreds of thousands of people and destroy this world's ability to make food. It's cool.
Billions.
They lost me at that point. I was sort of okay with it up until that point. It's like, yeah, no, you guys are clearly trying to prove a point here. That's cool. Oh, you're literally gonna colony strike the Earth. Oh.
Oh, no.
Why?
Lol, it's okay.
No, it's cool, guys. This will totally show how we're in the right and Federation is shit because
Zeon did
we're
nothing
drop
wrong. That's the thing, it's like the main pro of this series.
It's Gato.
Well, it's not just Gato, but like all the mecha combat is really good.
The entire animation, I was really surprised by this. You think with old anime that it's not really gonna match up to a lot of the shit you see these days, but honestly, the animation in this is fucking fantastic. It looks gorgeous.
And it's all hand-drawn.
I know, that's what's mad. How long did some poor bastard have to sit and draw this shit for? Because goddamn, it paid off, but that must have been a lot of work.
I really like the story because it's so, I don't know, it gets kind of politically in depth, and it's also all this treason and plot and all this background stuff that if you didn't really pay attention to, there's still the great plot of becoming a pilot and becoming hype at what you do.
Yeah, you can enjoy this series purely for gratuitous space battles, and they do gratuitous space battles fucking brilliantly, but there's also a lot of interesting plot elements.
Because this series doesn't introduce some of the more retarded concepts of Gundam, like new types, psycho frames, and everything else, which is actually really fucking stupid.
It was quite a clean, simple series. It's like, these are robots are gonna punch each other and fight each other with laser swords, and there's also badass fleet combat. That's your series.
All the power levels are kept much the same, so it allows for you to just pick it up and watch it.
NANI?!
Characters are generally speaking pretty great.
Yeah, most of them are fairly cool.
It does a really good job of introducing these characters and explaining why you should care about them in 13 episodes.
That's true, most of the characters I do quite like. Even Ku, who has his moments. I suppose if he's supposed to be Maverick in this, he doesn't feel very Maverick at points. Like, the whole thing with Maverick in Top Gun is he's this balls to the walls, give no fucks kind of guy. Whereas Ku, he feels like that at points when he's like the dude who's like, yeah, I can take this fucking Gundam that I've never touched or seen before. I'll fly this and take on the dude who's stolen the other one. That's kind of a Maverick move. And then the whole...
Would you say it's a Maverick move?
It's a Maverick move. Oh. Fucking kill yourself. it's like at that point Ku does seem like a maverick character, and then like his confrontations with Monsha, it's like, what, this isn't how a maverick character would react, because this guy is being a complete and utter fucking asshole to you. Why are you not responding in kind? That's how he would react. So in some ways he is very similar to Maverick in Top Gun, and then in other ways he is like actual Tom Cruise in that he's a fucking idiot.
As much as Gato is hype, he is clearly shown to have honor and isn't just killing people for the sake of killing them. He's killing them because they're in the way of his objective.
That's one thing that's really interesting about all of the Xeon characters that you're shown, with the exception of maybe Seema, is they are very, very concerned for the fates of their soldiers and their pilots and their crew. Gato's whole arc is basically history repeating itself. Like, he wants to go out in this desperate last struggle, you know, the noble kamikaze suicide attempt, and he's spared from that, and then it all feeds back in, and then ultimately he does go out in this massive desperate suicide attempt to try and break through the Federation lines at the end to reach the Axis fleet.
I don't know, it's kind of like the whole last flight of the Yamato sort of thing that Japan kind of has a really big, massive love affair with, that sailing out into one last final battle, even though you know you're doomed to die. But yeah, no, clearly my favourite character is, of course, Gao, because he's the only character with a moral compass that he follows to his destiny, if you will. He's the only character that doesn't waver or change his opinion. He clearly shows what he wants to do and how to achieve it, and sets goals and achieves them. It's that whole, like, clearly a good example of a great, well-written character. Totally not just a clone of Shar Aznavour. Not even slightly.
Original character, Donut Steel. I actually quite like Lieutenant Burning in this. He was a interesting character in that he's a dude who's clearly seen the horrors of war and all that jazz, and he's trying to teach his two fucking goober recruits that they need to stop fucking around and take this seriously, because this is life and death out there.
However, the main issue with the entire series is the fucking love story, which is actual cancer. I really wish I could forget it ever existed. Because it ruins the whole series. It just... no. Not only is it bad, it's fucking retarded.
Nina is not a good character. Let's just get out there and say it right now. Nina is a shit character.
The reason Nina's character is so wrong is because it's just really schizophrenic. One minute she fancies Ko, next minute she has a secret backstory with Gato, next minute she has space autism, next minute she fucking shoots Ko, and then something happens, and then right at the end of the series she was seen waiting for Ko when he gets out of fucking space prison, and you're just like, what?
The one thing that particularly annoyed me about that whole, like, forced love triangle is a term that gets thrown around a lot in the anime community, and for good reason, and it's perhaps sometimes overused, but in this, it felt so forced, because there's no development of it whatsoever. There's like a couple hints sprinkled in here and there, like Kelly's reaction to seeing Nina again, and there's a little subtle hint there, but it's never really developed. You're never really shown any relationship between Gato and Nina. It's just a thing that fucking is, because plot tension, and we need another reason for the two main characters of the show to not like each other. Let's use the fucking chick. The love story definitely detracts from all three of the principal characters, because it cheapens a lot of what's been going on between Gato and Ku.
But the other issue is, a lot of this plot stuff is really underbaked as well. Although there's lots of it, it's also very underdeveloped.
Yeah, the ending particularly felt very, okay, we're on episode 13, hurry it along, this happens, this guy shoots himself, now we've got fucking Space Gestapo, and Ku is on trial. Wait, what? Why is he on trial? You don't actually say why he's on trial, he's just suddenly on trial. It's like, oh, okay.
It's fine.
Don't worry about it,
just
guys.
Buy more robots. It's fine.
Yeah.
So this series, to conclude, shall we say, it's a good series that draws you in, makes you interested in the rest of the universe, and makes you want to learn more.
It's if you are interested in getting into the whole Gundam series, but you've always been a bit intimidated by just how much fucking Gundam there is of Gundam, this is a really good launching point.
But yes, Stardust Memories is at least a solid 7 out of 10.
We're not doing scores. We are so not doing scores.
It is a good, solid highlight letter.
God damn it.
Out of 10.